Mr. Chancellor, Mr. President, honored guests, graduands, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jeff Leclerc and I'm the University Secretary here at the University of Manitoba. It's my pleasure today to introduce the honorary degree recipient, my friend and a great friend of the University of Manitoba, Mr. Terry Sargeant. The highest honor the Senate of a university can confer upon an individual is an honorary doctorate. At the University of Manitoba, the criteria include distinguished achievement in scholarship, the arts, or public service. The role of an honorary degree recipient is to inspire and serve as a role model for our graduates and for all members of the University of Manitoba family. In honoring Terry Sargeant today, we recognize his lifelong commitment to learning, to public and community service, and to the University of Manitoba. Mr. Sargeant attended the University of Manitoba, graduating with a BA in 1967. As a young man, he entered public life and was elected to the House of Commons in 1979 at the relatively young age of 32. He served for 2 terms representing the riding of Selkirk-Interlake as a member of the New Democratic Party. In Parliament, he served as critic for both national defence and sport. After his time in Parliament, Mr. Sargeant continued his public service, serving as a senior official in the provincial governments in Manitoba, the Yukon, and British Columbia. Following his years of government service, Mr. Sargeant entered the Faculty of Law at the University of Manitoba at the age of 50. During his time at law school, he excelled, winning academic awards. Since his call to the bar, he has worked as chair of 2 important quasi-judicial bodies in Manitoba, the Appeal Commission of the Workers' Compensation Board and the Manitoba Clean Environment Commission. In these 2 roles, he combined his commitment to the public good with his legal training to serve his community and profession. The University of Manitoba has been an important part of Terry's life for the last 4 decades, from his time as a student in the 60s and again in the 90s, to his 9 years of service as a member of the Board of Governors and 4 years as its chair. During those years, Mr. Sargeant volunteered thousands of hours of his time to strengthening the university's governance system, advising 2 presidents, and leading a presidential search process. His passion for the University of Manitoba and the accomplishments of the students and staff and faculty shone through in his countless acts of leadership. Mr. Sargeant is a steadfast community leader and volunteer, having served on the boards of arts organizations, including the Prairie Theatre Exchange, the Manitoba Theatre Centre, and the Winnipeg Folk Festival, where he served with dedication and distinction as chair of the board. He has served in leadership roles in national organizations, including the Council of Canadian Administrative Tribunals and the National Association of University Board Chairs and Secretaries. Terry exemplifies what the University of Manitoba seeks to develop in its graduates. He is a lifelong learner, a dedicated community leader, a humble and forthright public servant, and an individual who has had a meaningful and lifelong relationship with the University of Manitoba. In honoring Terry today, we celebrate the wonderful opportunities that a University of Manitoba education can provide to each of us. Mr. Chancellor, it is an honor and a privilege for me to ask in the name of the Senate of the University of Manitoba that you confer upon Terry Sargeant the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
By virtue of the authority vested in me as Chancellor of this university, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges thereto appertaining. Congratulations, Dr. Sargeant.
Wow. I have to tell you that this was not something that I foresaw in my life plan. To be recognized by the University of Manitoba, my university, in this way is a great honor. It is especially pleasing to be able to share this event with many members of my family, seated here in front of me and elsewhere in this room. It is also very pleasing to share this with many of the friends I made while serving on the board of this university, many of whom are on this platform. When I think of the company I now keep, whether it be this year's other honorary degree recipients or the many over the history of the University of Manitoba, it is truly humbling. I thank those in the university who felt that I belonged in this company. I'd like to thank Jeff for his very kind remarks in introducing me. And in those remarks, Jeff spoke of some of the things I've done in my life, my political career, my years of working for government, as well as my contributions to the community, including my time as a member and chair of the Board of Governors of the University of Manitoba. Quite frankly, I'm not being recognized for my contributions to federal politics. While being elected to Parliament is a significant achievement and was an experience I will never forget, the fact is that my political career lasted little more than 5 years. For much of the last 25 years, I have worked for governments, as Jeff noted, in Manitoba, the Yukon and British Columbia. I continue to work for a Manitoba government agency. It has been interesting and satisfying work. It has given me the opportunity to work and live in many different parts of this country, something I would recommend to anyone. And while I have been successful in those jobs, it would be a conceit to say that I have made a lasting impression on the public service of those jurisdictions. I am being recognized today because throughout my adult life, I have made it a practice to get involved with my community, to give back to the community in whichever ways that I can. I have had 3 great learning opportunities at the University of Manitoba. The first was in the mid-60s when I came here fresh out of high school, St. Paul's and Gimli, to study history and political science. I had a great time. Following the Mark Twain dictum, I didn't let my schooling get in the way of my education. I got very involved in campus life, on the student council and the theater group at St. Paul's. I participated in what was then a university model parliament. I helped organize a successful campaign for the presidency of UMSU, and I did manage to graduate with a Bachelor of Arts degree. My second U of M learning experience came many years later, when at the age of 50 I decided it was time I learned how to do something, and I enrolled in the Faculty of Law. It turned out to be absolutely the right thing to have done. The education was outstanding. The friendships I made are lasting, and the opportunities that opened up for me continue to this day. The third opportunity came just 2 years later when Diane McGifford, then Minister of Advanced Education, asked me to join the board. Again, it was absolutely the right thing to do. During my 9 years on the board, I had experiences that would never have come anywhere else. I learned a lot, not just about the governing of a university, but knowledge and skills that will benefit me in my life and my profession for years to come. Now, not all of you can become members of the university board. There simply are not enough spaces, although I'm certain that some of you may well. However, there are many other community groups, associations, or organizations to which you can give a small amount of your time. These cover everything from the local kids' soccer club to the community clubs, to arts organizations, to food banks, church groups, charities, professional organizations. The list is really endless. Whatever you choose, you will not regret it. And there is a huge payback. The first day of law school in 1996 consisted of an all-day orientation session. We heard from the dean, other professors, student representatives, members of the legal community. They talked to us about the study and the practice of law. The most important thing I took away from that session, the one thing I remember well, were the words of Jack London, a Winnipeg lawyer and former dean of the faculty. He made a pitch for us all to get involved with our community. His message was that it was very possible to have a successful and lucrative career in Winnipeg while also being involved in community work. in giving back to our community. I would go a step further than Jack and argue that becoming involved in your community will contribute to even greater professional and personal success. Community involvement will expand your horizons. Many professional firms and organizations will look at your community involvement when looking for future leaders. Community involvement will put you in contact with others who may well become clients, colleagues, or friends. It will give you experiences that will pay back in every aspect of your life. It will give you the opportunity to learn and develop skills that will benefit you in very many ways. You may even discover skills that you didn't realize you had. When looked at this way, one could argue that there are selfish reasons for giving back to your community. No matter what your reasons, whether they be altruism, personal satisfaction, or professional benefit, I would encourage you to just do it. Do something to make your world a better place. And by your world, I don't mean just the narrow space around you and your family. I mean the community around you, which may be your city, your province, your country, or even something that benefits the entire planet. And this last is not a silly statement. Graduates and academics of this university have had worldwide impacts in fields as diverse as medicine, agriculture, media, literature, among many others. Why not one of you? If each of you does just one small thing, that will be a big step. If each of you does just one small thing every year for the rest of your lives, that will be giant. I'd like to be a bit specific for a minute or two and ask that you remember the university from which you are graduating today. Most, if not all of you, are going to be successful. You have chosen careers or professions that lead to success. Among today's class are likely future judges, leading medical scientists, academics, maybe even a politician or two. I would ask that you remember that the foundation upon which you build your success was laid here at the University of Manitoba. On a world scale, we may be at the smaller end of medical doctoral universities, but I would argue that we punch much above our weight. So wherever your lives may take you, think well of this institution. And remember, too, the cause of university education in general. In standing up for your university, and indeed for university education everywhere, you must oppose any moves that diminish the vital role that universities play in society. Some of you may have seen an op-ed piece in the Winnipeg Free Press a few weeks ago in which the former CEO of a large Canadian oil company dissed an arts education, arguing that, quote, taxpayer-financed tuition subsidies should focus on turning out graduates in fields that will enhance our country's future prosperity, unquote. You must resist that kind of thinking. In his address to convention last year, my former law professor and board colleague, Chancellor Sector, made a passionate and cogent argument for the continued prominence of liberal arts and humanities in universities. I would like to repeat and underscore that argument. A university must do much more than just educate or train people for jobs. It must educate broadly. It must play a major role in nurturing values in its students, values which form the underpinning of our society. It is trite to say that we as Canadians enjoy an outstanding quality of life. And it may be further cliched to say that we must not take this for granted. However, there are constant threats to our quality of life, threats to the values that define us as Canadians. And for the most part, these threats don't come from some big bad bogeyman outside our borders. They are within. They are not necessarily new. There are always such challenges. It will fall to you to play your part in standing up to those challenges. If the University of Manitoba has done a good job, and if you have learned from those lessons, the values instilled in you by your families and augmented at this university will serve you well in facing the challenges that will arise in your careers and your lives. and I would hope that you will use those values to the benefit of your community. Don't be afraid to take risks, not foolish ones, but ones that push the edge of the envelope. Don't be afraid to express what some might see as radical views. Radical views have a way of becoming mainstream and expanding our world. Let me lift a line from David Barnard's address on the occasion of his installation as president in October 2008. It's from the poet T.S. Eliot. Only those who risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go, unquote. You owe it to yourselves, to your families who have supported you to get to today, and to your community to discover just how far you can go. In your lives, each of you will, at different times and in different ways, be presented with choices which will also contain opportunities. Everyone in this room, especially your family members gathered today, have high expectations of you. In pursuing those expectations and those opportunities, I urge you not to take the safe route. From time to time, take the less traveled road and go as far down that road as you possibly can. Before I finish, I should tell you that I have embarked on a fourth learning experience here at the University of Manitoba. I just can't stay away from this campus. Just over a year ago, I started taking piano lessons with a professor at the Faculty of Music. It's great fun. In closing, I would like to thank the University of Manitoba for the profound honor bestowed upon me today. I want to congratulate each and every graduate gathered here today on your accomplishments leading to today's celebrations. And I want to wish all of you the very best in your careers and in your lives. Thank you very much.